one last question, and I think maybe you've talked about this before, and me and Mike made a video about this, but like I just want to talk to someone else about this so I feel less crazy. And I'm actually gonna I'm gonna ask this question I think to everybody. And actually I have one upcoming guest hopefully that I'm definitely gonna have fun talking about this. The question it's an internet classic internet martial arts question. I'm 100%. I know what your answer is going to be. Mm-hmm. Who would win in a fight? I'm going to pose it the same way as I posed it to Mike. One person is like 230 pounds, trains, martial arts, live resistance martial arts, regularly. The other person is like 130 pounds, and is a traditional martial artist. So going on that, which of these people would win in a fight?
Okay, so we've got like 100-pound difference, like a 230-pound guy. What were the big guy's credentials again? What's his background?
Grappling, striking, live resistance arts, regular training with high level professionals. The other person, a traditional martial artist. Also, both these people are film people. They're both actors as well. The second person is also a film person, but more of a traditional martial artist. Not a whole lot of live training footage of this person.
And you said he weighs 130 pounds? Okay, so we got like a big, like heavyweight, light heavyweight, combat sports dude, and a traditional martial artist who weighs 130 pounds less.
Correct.
Okay. If that's all I have to go with, I'm going with the big combat sports athlete.
So that person is
seems like a pretty.
That person is Michael Jai White.
Okay.
And the second person, I think you know where this is going, is Bruce Lee. Now we asked the question because I'm sure you've seen, Michael Jai White's clips of, people talk about it all the time. Like he says, like I would totally, win against Bruce Lee.
But it is the truth.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it made the internet very angry.
Yeah, and everybody got mad about it.
He offended the Church of Jeet Kune Do and was excommunicated immediately. I understand that. I've also been excommunicated from the Church of Jeet Kune Do. It's
I'm working on it.
It's an unforgiving religion.
Indeed.
But yeah, it's funny. I had a back and forth in the YouTube comments about Khabib with this fellow who said, Khabib I can never pronounce his last name, the former UFC champion. Anyway, everyone who is familiar with the UFC knows who Khabib is. Anyway, undefeated in the UFC, right?
Right.
And this guy said Khabib had never been punched in his entire career. And I said, that's objectively untrue. I looked up the UFC stats and gave him the numbers of how many strikes he had taken in each fight. No, he wasn't stopped in any of his fights. He won all of his fights. He had an outstanding career, enviable skill set, but he's clearly taken punches in his fights. And I gave him the stats, and the guy said, no, they never touched him. They never touched him. And he wrote this big long post, which reminded me so much of the Bruce Lee worship, where people are like, Bruce Lee was untouchable. Nobody could beat him in a fight. And he's putting Khabib up on this pedestal. I'm like, you can watch the fights. You can see the moments where he takes hits. Like, that's what a fight is.
Yeah.
It's not doing Khabib a favor or yourself a favor or anyone else a favor by trying to turn this guy into a demigod by saying he's untouchable. Look, the average number of strikes thrown in a UFC fight, in a 3-round fight, is about 130 strikes when we average out all weight classes. It's a little higher in the teeny tiny women's divisions and a little bit lower in the heavyweight divisions, but that's the average number of strikes thrown. The average number of strikes landed per fighter is 70. So in an average 3-round fight, a UFC fighter is going to be taking 70 strikes. As far as significant strikes, those are strikes where the judges see has a visible effect, like knocks the guy down, moves the guy,
right,
hurts the guy to some alarming degree where it's noticeable from the outside.
Right.
We're talking like about 30 or 40 of those.
Right.
Okay. And most of those are to the head. Right. So let's go on the most conservative number and say in one fight you're taking 30 significant strikes that are moving you, damaging you, etc.
Yeah.
If we are pretending this doesn't happen and telling young men and young women who are considering, hey, I want to be a pro fighter, this doesn't happen, we're doing a huge disservice to them.
Yeah.
Like this is dangerous. The long-term ramifications of violence are huge, and they're generational, as we discussed before.
Yeah.
I put up a picture on my YouTube community section of my face all bruised up after a fight, and I asked people, what do you think? Did I win this fight or lose this fight? And a lot of people are like, I think you won because you have a smile on your face. I think you lost because you have visible damage on your face. You have a black eye. And it seemed to be about 50-50. Spoiler alert, I won that fight.
Yeah.
And I took far fewer than the average number of strikes. It was a 3-round decision fight, where the average number of significant strikes landed is at least 30. The average number of strikes landed is 70. I took a grand total of 14 strikes in that fight.
Okay.
Which that's winning by a significant margin.
Yeah.
Okay. But the damage on the face, the black eye, the scuffs on the forehead, the little mark on the neck, and so on. People who've never fought before, people who don't understand violence, see that and they think, well, that's clearly a loss. But anyway, so going back to the Bruce Lee thing, it does nobody any favors by saying people are untouchable. Even the best guys take damage, and lots of it over their career. It's cumulative, and it has long-term and generational effects.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so that's an interesting question. When you describe Bruce Lee and you describe Michael Jai White without giving their names, and if you said that to, even a Bruce Lee worshiper, well, maybe not a Bruce Lee worshiper, but some of them, they would say, well, yeah, the big guy would probably win.
They might see it coming.
It's Bruce Lee, in which case they'll be like, oh, no, well, we're making an exception here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they could definitely, as soon as they heard the names, they would spin it around. But I feel like they would see it coming, though. As soon as you described the 130-pound person, they'd be like, is this Bruce? Are you trying to trick me?
Yeah, man. It also upsets me when you speak of Bruce Lee as a man rather than a myth.
Yeah.
That it makes people angry.
Yeah.
And it makes people angry when you do the opposite. When, like, I feel it's disrespectful to the memory of Bruce Lee to remember him as a myth rather than the man he was.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite interviews, it's the same interview where he said, "Be like water, my friend." That famous quote where he said he wanted to be remembered as a good actor rather than a star. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, look, like the idea of a star, like this big Hollywood icon, that's fake. It's not real. I want to be remembered as something real. I want to be remembered as, hey, that guy was a good actor. That guy was a good martial artist, rather than this guy was a god. This guy was an icon.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes to me about Bruce Lee's character.
Yeah.
And so to respect the man, I try to respect his wishes as far as he presented them in that interview anyway.
Yeah.
He was mortal. He was fallible. He made mistakes. He was beatable on any given day, like everybody else is under the right circumstances. But man, he did some good work while he was here.
He sure did.